Hello and welcome. I'm Vincent MAKORI and this is Africa 54. Accusations and counter-accusations. That's what we are getting from South Sudan. There are reports of fighting between government forces and anti-government forces more than 4 days after a ceasefire deal was signed. Rebel forces claim they have been attacked in the Unity State and the Upper Nile. South Sudan's government, on its part, accuses rebels of breaking the ceasefire. Information Minister Michael McQuay says the ceasefire agreement is failing because there is no monitoring mechanism in place. He also criticized the United Nations peacekeeping mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, for doing little, he says, to ease the suffering of the more than 500,000 people displaced by the violence. Meanwhile, the UN says both government and anti-government forces have committed atrocities in the ongoing fighting. Now, the political conflict between the president and his opponents is getting harder and harder to separate from the ethnic conflict between the Dinka and Nuer. But at a radio station in Juba, journalists of both tribes collaborate, overcoming the challenges of working in such a sensitive environment. Emilie went to find out how and sent us this report.
This is a message from iRadio.
I'm South Sudanese.
I'm South Sudanese.
We all are one. We are South Sudanese.
A call to unity. While fighting continues to tear South Sudan's people apart, at this local radio station in Juba, presenter LASUBA MEMO tries to cover the events and also convey a positive message. MEMO says the show had to adapt to the crisis. It finishes earlier because of the curfew, and they also stopped taking phone calls from listeners.
The management decided that we should avoid taking calls from listeners. The situation is still hot. People are emotional. And I took that positive. We came to realize that through the text messages that we had decided as the only way to interact with our listeners, because some of the text messages are inciting violence.
iRadio has journalists from all South Sudanese tribes, including the Dinka and Nuer, the tribes at the heart of the conflict. Station manager Stephen OMIRI says that when the conflict erupted, he reminded all members of his team of their journalistic duty.
Initially, as a station manager, I sent an email out and to inform all my journalists that we have a career to do, that many people are listening to us and they need information. So we must stick together during this crisis. We should not think of, oh, I come from this tribe, I come from this tribe. Let's be one people, because our career comes from our tribe.
DANIS is half Dinka and half Nuer. He says his colleagues were able to put their personal feelings aside and continue to do their jobs.
But what I like about most of my colleagues is that once they're here, they put their job first. Their own comment and sentiments about what is happening to their community is there. When you get to chat with someone, they will tell you the pain that they are going through, but it never interferes with what they do.
About 30 journalists work at the station, and very few of them felt the need to take leave because of safety or moral dilemmas. DANIS says being a journalist helps him remain neutral in the eyes of the community.
You know, working as a journalist also makes you become friendly to people. So I never felt threatened in a way, because I know this job of mine that I'm doing, that I've done before, has brought me together with so many other colleagues from different communities.
iRadio is one of the very few radio stations that remains on air in South Sudan, and one of the few that still sends its journalists out into the field every day to report firsthand on the crisis in the country. Emilie for VOA News, Juba.